After years of holding off a rebuild and constantly trying to stay competitive in a stacked Western Conference, the Memphis Grizzlies finally gave in and traded their star players. The Grizzlies are officially in rebuild mode. Last season started off good, but by January, you could see that the writing was already on the wall. They have always been a good defensive team with an average to below average offense. That still was the case last season, as they were in the top 10 in defensive rating and scored a league worst 103.5 points per game. And that's after finishing second to last in points per game the previous season. After starting 12-5, the Grizzlies went 21-44 and finished tied with the Mavericks and the Pelicans for the second worst record in the West. They have always had a Gasol brother on the roster ever since 2001 when they traded for Pau Gasol on draft night. There are no more Gasol brothers, and Memphis says goodbye to the grit and grind era. Before the trade deadline, the Grizzlies traded Marc Gasol to the Toronto Raptors for Jonas Valanciunas, Delon Wright, and CJ Miles. It was a great deal for both teams, as the Raptors got a key piece to their championship run, and the Grizzlies got a young and improving big man. Valanciunas was a main part of the trade and re-signed with the Grizzlies on a 3-year, $45 million contract. He finally started to get touches he never really got in Toronto. He saw his averages rise as soon as he got to Memphis. He may not be the defensive player or passer that Marc Gasol was, but he can be just as good offensively. Valanciunas ended the year with 16 double-doubles, with 11 of those coming in a Grizzlies uniform. In the 19 games he played with Memphis, he averaged around 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game on 55% shooting from the field. He only got to play with Jaren Jackson Jr. for only 2 games before he went out with an injury. So those numbers by Valanciunas may not be the same this season, but it's a great sign that he's able to put up those numbers with the opportunity. After the season ended, it was only a matter of time before the Grizzlies said goodbye to their longtime point guard, Mike Conley. They sent Conley to the Utah Jazz for Jay Crowder, Grayson Allen, Kyle Korver, and the 21st pick in this year's draft. They probably could have got a better deal if they traded him last summer, but it was a solid deal. The Grizzlies get a veteran wing player in Crowder, a young scrappy scoring guard in Grayson Allen, and a young forward that they drafted with the 21st pick. After the draft lottery, when the Grizzlies received the second pick, everybody knew who the pick was most likely going to be: Mike Conley's replacement, Morant, one of the most exciting players in college basketball last season. The point guard out of Murray State had a highlight reel filled with no-look passes, slick handles, and jaw-dropping tomahawk dunks. It was a pleasure to witness it. Morant will bring a new brand of basketball to the city of Memphis. They have mostly been known for their gritty, suffocating defense with a mostly unexciting offense. Morant will change that. The Grizzlies will play at a more faster pace and will have more athleticism on the court than they're used to. Morant has advanced skills at reading defenses, and he is great in the pick and roll. He has the quickness to blow by his defenders and has elite athleticism and can finish above the rim with ease. He's a pass-first point guard, but he also can put the ball in the hole. He averaged 24, 10, and 6 in his final season at Murray State. He's the franchise player for the Grizzlies, and this could be the start of something special in Memphis. 2 more players that are part of the young core are Jaren Jackson Jr. and the 21st pick in this year's draft, Brandon Clark. The 4th overall pick from last year played 58 games in his rookie year and showed his potential, especially on the defensive end. Jaren Jackson Jr. was second among all rookies with 82 blocks, and that's with missing 23 games because of a quad injury. His number one ability coming out of Michigan State was his defense, and he showed why in his rookie year. He even shot a higher 3-point percentage than Luka Doncic and Trae Young, but he still is raw as an offensive player and must continue to improve on that end. Jackson has the drive to be one of the great big men in the league. Him and Valanciunas could be a dangerous duo in the front court, and the Grizzlies could continue the grit and grind mentality with those 2 players down low. Brandon Clark is looked at as a steal with the 21st pick in the draft. The Grizzlies add another athletic defensive big man. The West Coast Conference Defensive Player of the Year brings immediate impact and is a player who played 3 years in college. He's a mature player who knows what he can do and what he can't do. He had a very encouraging performance at NBA Summer League this year. He averaged around 15 points, 10 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks a game. It's not really surprising how much of an instant impact he could have, given his play at Gonzaga. He would have had the highest PER over the last decade in college basketball if it wasn't for Zion Williamson. He's an athletic freak who gets a lot of easy buckets around the paint and is a good rebounder. Those easy buckets should continue playing with a great passing point guard like Ja Morant. In the Summer League, Clark did show he could be a decent outside shooter with more work. The Grizzlies are still expecting a lot from players like Kyle Anderson and Dillon Brooks. They didn't see the court that much last season because they missed a lot of games due to injury. Brooks missed 21 games because of a grade 2 MCL sprain and 42 games with a torn ligament in his big toe. Brooks had a solid rookie year, but this season could be a make or break year. He's on the last year of his contract, and he needs to show the production and impact he had in his rookie year. Josh Jackson has been a disappointment on the court and off the court, but the Grizzlies thought he was worth taking a gamble on. He's never been a good shooter, as he has shot 29% from 3 and 42% from the field in his career. Jackson has not played winning basketball, as he has a career negative win share per 48 minutes, which means he has contributed more to his team losing than his team winning. Now, you could say that playing with the Phoenix Suns is not the best place to develop a young player, but Jackson has not lived up to the hype after being highly touted coming out of high school. He has had a lot of off-the-court issues that has probably kept him from focusing on his game. It's a smart gamble for the Grizzlies, but Jackson needs to understand that he may not get too many more opportunities in the NBA. The Grizzlies moved on from J.B. Bickerstaff and hired a relatively unknown Taylor Jenkins. He spent time with the Spurs organization as he was an assistant coach for the Austin Touros, which are now known as the Austin Spurs. Most recently, he joined Mike Budenholzer in Atlanta for 5 years and also in Milwaukee last season. So Jenkins has been around a couple of good coaches in his time in the NBA. He has a good collection of talent as he goes into his first season as an NBA head coach. Even though there's great optimism with the young talent on the team, it's going to take some time for this team to start winning a lot of games. The foundation is laid with players like Morant, Jackson Jr., Valanciunas, and Clark, but there will be a lot of growing pains in the next couple of years before you can start talking about playoffs with this team. I have the Grizzlies winning 27 games and finishing in 13th place in the Western Conference. The Grizzlies will have a young and exciting team that will compete hard every night, but finishing games is always the hardest part for a young team. But the Grizzlies have a bright future. They have plenty of all-star level talent on the team.